Alright, here we go with part 53 of my WWE Smackdown Shut Your Mouth Let's Play. We are, part 53. We're into August here. This is almost halfway through the year. What is this, the fourth month, I think? Considering it starts in April, May, June, July. August is the fifth month. So yeah, we're about halfway through the year here. We are on part 53, and as I'm estimating right, I'm going to make a guess now that this playthrough is going to come out to maybe 75 parts. And I mean, you could always say, well, you're editing it, so you could make it come out to that. But the thing is, I'm not even that far in recording yet. I actually only got a couple more months after this one. So we'll see where it goes. Now anyway, the month of August, like I said, is where we started the big storyline with... if I say any more, I will spoil it, and I don't want to do that. There are things I've spoiled in the past, but I'm not going to spoil anything this time. So there's the big storyline that encompasses most of the rest of the playthrough. It has a bunch of different twists and turns in it, but for the most part we're going to just be playing through this one whole solitary story that Vince McMahon said is very foreboding and something bad is going to happen. We'll find out in sometime during this part. Anyway, you might have noticed that a lot of the loading screens have been cut short here. I've finally figured out how to a good way to make things shorter, make things go quicker. I think I got most of the loading screens. I'm not going to say I got all of them, but I got most of them. Anyway, not too much to talk about here. This first month is just kind of the start of the big story. I don't think we really get into anything until the months down the road here, but leading up to SummerSlam, it gets a little bit more intense as things go along. We'll see more in the next part for sure. But in this part, I mean, I've taken on Kane in the past. There's nothing really special to say about it. So, as I have said in one of my descriptions from my last parts, I've finally kind of gotten into a schedule for this. Every Monday and Thursday I'm going to upload a new WWE part, so this part will be coming up on this coming Thursday, I guess, and then so on and so forth. It's nice to have deadlines because it lets you, it really gives you something to work toward, like, oh, I have to get this done by now. I can't sit on it, instead of before where I was just kind of uploading parts whenever I felt like it. At the same time, it also means that I don't have to upload something every day. I can upload something twice a week instead. And I mean, I would like to upload more. I just don't have anything else playing. I only have this game right now. I know I've said I'm going to do other games here, and I keep promising, like, oh, I'm going to do Dragon Ball Z Budokai, oh, I'm going to do Injustice, oh, I'm going to do whatever other games I might have said in the past. And it always comes down to an excuse of some sort. I've finally decided I don't want to do anything on my PS2 besides this game now. And, that has nothing to do with Dragon Ball Z or anything. That's just me saying I need to figure out my recording software, I need to figure out my editing software, especially the editing stuff, because I don't want to use Pinnacle for very much longer. I just want to use it for the rest of the WWE game here, and then after that I'm probably going to go ahead and say, okay, I'm going to switch over to Sony Vegas or something. We'll see if my Dazzle works with that or not. I'm not sure. It's something I'm going to have to come back to and see. But after this is done, I'm going to get into, I don't know, something like Dark Cloud or maybe Dragon Ball Z. I'm not sure. Anyway, we're coming up to this big announcement here that Vince has been foreboding, something bad, something to shake up the WWE. There's many useless superstars, and he basically wants to fire all the dead weight. Then who's coming out? It's Ric Flair, and you know, Flair and Vince, they hate each other, so maybe he's going to come say something to offset that. Maybe, you know, all these people are really good, they're not dead weight, and you're the problem here. Either way, we get to see his full entrance, because for some reason they put it in here. They didn't just have the woo go off. No, we actually get to see his full entrance, which I actually think we might have seen before, and I forgot to edit this out. But because it's more cutscene instead of working up to a match, I left it in. I think my entrance is coming up in a sec here too, and I end up leaving that in because, like I said, it's more of a cutscene than an actual gameplay part. So Flair is here. He's arrived to say something to Vince. Looks like his face is going to blow. I don't blame him. And they shake hands. This is not another Vince versus Flair story. This is Vince and Ric Flair teaming up to take on the WWE. Because, as you know, if you've been watching this from the beginning, or if you watched it all in 2002, Ric Flair was a half owner of the WWE at the time. So when they put those two halves together, as anyone who has passed grade 2 math should know, they become full owners of the company and they can do just about anything they want. So what do they want to do? They want to cut the dead weight. Who's the dead weight? Well, they're going to find out. First, they have to get people on their side. They want to know who is on their side. And Vince has one guy in mind. That guy is me. So like I said, we get to see my entrance. I get to come out here. I just had a match. I beat Kane. Am I on Vince's side? Am I on my own side? We know right now that I'm not a good guy. I'm definitely a bad guy at the moment. I'm not to be cheered. That is definitely for sure. But we will find out now just what I have to say. And of course, you know, it comes down to just two options. I don't get to say, oh, I'm going to say this and type it into my PS2 keyboard, which I don't even know. Well, there probably is something like that, but I don't have it if there is. But anyway, I get a choice. Do I help? Or don't you tell me what to do? And I am channeling Stone Cold Steve Austin here. I'm not letting my boss tell me what to do at all. And I mean, I kind of just thought I was going to say no and walk away. I didn't realize that I was going to smack him in the face. So it looks like I went from bad guy and now I'm instantly turning back into a good guy here. Except with more of an edge. I'm not the all-American babyface, as people would call it. I'm not the guy who's out there shaking everyone's hand, kissing babies, posing with photos. No, this time I'm more of the Stone Cold Steve Austin type character. I am the good guy, and I don't want anything to do with anyone. Just get the hell out of my way.
Welcome to Smackdown. I'm Jim Ross, your host at ringside, along with Jerry the King Lawler. We are broadcasting Smackdown from Miami, Florida.
So what goes on in this part? Well, there's the repercussions of what I did to Vince, but first I get to chat with Ivory, and for the first time in a long time I get to chat with a diva that is not, oh, you want to go to dinner? Oh, you met with just me? No, it's with everyone. No, instead it's Ivory, who is, I think she was transitioning into a trainer role at this point. I don't really know much about her. She was never my favorite. I guess she wrestled well or something. I don't know much about her, so I can't really say, but always wanting to help the young guns, and at this point I guess I was a young gun because I've only been in the WWE for a little over a year. So now we get a big 6-man tag match, and I was looking at the timeline here, and I'm just like, there are two really long parts, and I don't know why. I'm like, is there 2 matches I go through? And then, oh no, it's because I did the entrances for this, because we haven't seen everyone's entrance in this 6-man match. We've seen a lot of them. I mean, we've definitely seen mine. So since we have seen these entrances before, for the most part, I figured now would be a good time to transition into talking about something else. I want to talk about video games a bit, and I've talked about this before, how I think people, how do I want to put this? I like video games, and I've kind of gone on about this before, how people go on about video games and how they don't like certain things, and what they deem is worth buying. The way I see it, it's one of two reasons. People don't like video games as much as they say they do, or people are jaded towards video games. And I don't think I really know anyone they don't like video games. I think I know a lot of people who are jaded towards them, though. They've played it so much, now they're just bored of it. Whereas me, as big of a gamer as I am now, I think I will end up jaded at some point. It's just not now. It's because in the beginning, I owned a Sega Genesis. That was it. I didn't get another console until the PS2. And I don't mean early PS2, I mean mid-life cycle PS2. Around 2002, I think. But in between that gap, I only had a Sega Genesis. I didn't have a PS1, I didn't have an N64, I certainly did not have a Sega Saturn. So all of my gaming memories was just playing all these old games all the time, and no one else wanted to play them because they were the old games. No one wanted to play them. They wanted to play all the new stuff, and I'm like, I don't know, Streets of Rage is fun. I love Shinobi. Sonic's always a good run. And then I'm playing other games like, I love Rambo, and I have all these bad games too, like the Terminator and Last Action Hero. But everyone wanted to play the new stuff. It's like, there's Super Mario 64, and there's Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon, and I'm just like, I see those games on TV all the time, but I just want to play what I have. I was never clamoring for a new system. And in fact, I don't know where it came from that we got the idea to get a PS2 from. But then we did. And the first games we got on it were PS1 games because they were cheaper. We have the 3 Spyro games and Crash Team Racing. Crash Team Racing is one of my favorite games of all time. I think it is the best kart racer out there, bar none. And Spyro's okay. Nothing wrong with Spyro. But because I kind of transitioned later, I think that's why I haven't grown so bored or jaded toward video games yet. That's why I think people say, it's not worth it. I think it's more that they're just saying, I don't want that game, whereas I'm just like, okay, you can just say that. Because I think a video game is worth $60. And I mean, they're $75 here in Canada now because of an exchange rate issue, but I think video games are worth full price. I'm going to say that right now. They are worth the full price, and if you don't think they're worth the full price, it's not that it's not worth it, it's that you do not want that game. That is all it is. Have there come games that I think I would rather pay for on sale? Yes, but that means that I just don't want that game that much. It's why people always ask me, why don't you have this? Because I don't want it. Why don't you have the new Zelda? Because Zelda does not interest me. I mean, I will tell people to get a game. That doesn't mean they will, but I will say, you should get this. And if they don't, okay, I might ask them another time, but I'm not going to keep pressing it at that moment. It's also why I think the people who are always waiting for sales and stuff and they just buy everything aren't really gamers. They just want to buy games to own them and like complain about them. A lot of games really aren't that bad. And I've gone on to this before. I know I have, that a 7 out of 10 is not a bad score. It means it is a good game, which is better than a bad game. And I mean, some of my favorite games would probably be 7 out of 10 or something like that. Not to me, I mean, I'd definitely rate them higher. I think Shinobi 3 is a great game. I think Sonic 3 and Knuckles is a great game. I think Streets of Rage series, Dark Cloud, Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3, Smackdown vs. Raw 2006, Castlevania Symphony of the Night. All these games I'm listing off, they're usually hailed as really great games. So maybe they are 10 out of 10s or 9 out of 10s and I'm just tripping over my words a bit. But I guess my inane ramblings here, the point of them all, is that people have played video games for so long. They've been playing since like the NES days. They've been playing since maybe even the Atari 2600 days, and they're just bored of it. It has nothing to do with the quality of the games, because usually the quality is still good. I don't get how people say that games used to be so much better back in the day, because they weren't. Everyone remembers the good games, but no one's going to talk to you about the shitty games. And there are plenty of shitty games out there back on the NES, back on the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis, back on the N64 and PS1, back on the PS2 and the GameCube, back on the PS3, the Wii and the 360, so on and so forth. There's shitty games on the PC, there's shitty games on the handheld systems. They are everywhere. It's just, they get forgotten over time. Unless they're infamously bad, like Superman 64 or E.T. But a game like Last Action Hero, that's a bad game. I hate that game. I cannot beat it. It is bad. It is clunky. It has slow combat. It is difficult for all the wrong reasons. It is stiff. I've never gotten past the second level. And the second level has a complete gameplay change that has its own problems. It's no longer a beat 'em up. It becomes a driving game where you go so fast that you can't see what's coming ahead of you, and if you hit one thing, you die. Never play Last Action Hero. It sucks. But today, yeah, there are bad games. There are good games too. I mean, and here's the thing. I was getting into this earlier. People say that a game is bad if it only gets like a 7 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10, which is wrong. That means the game is good. It means it is a pretty good game. It's not like it's an average game. 5 is average. And, I mean, the argument I always hear is, well, we shouldn't stand for that. We shouldn't accept that. Well, that's not the point we're trying to make here. The point we're trying to make is that it is a good game as opposed to being a bad game. A lot of people will say it's bad, where it's like, no, it's just good. It's not great. It's not spectacular. It's not bad. It's just not bad like you're saying. And the most recent example I can think of is The Order 1886, or whatever date it has in it. The game's not bad. It's not great or spectacular. It's a little short, and length is another thing I've gone on about before, and I don't think length is a big issue, but the game is good, and then people say, oh no, it's bad. It's not bad. There is nothing that makes it bad. If you think that a game like The Order is bad, you've never played an actual bad game in your life. You've not played Sonic 2006. You've not played E.T. You've not played Last Action Hero. You've not played the Terminator games, because most of them are pretty bad, let me say. You've not played... I don't know, there's tons of bad games out there. I'm just drawing a blank on them right now. But an average game or a good game is not bad, and people should not think of it as such. They should definitely strive for the companies to make better games. I'm not going to deny that. But to say a good game is a bad game just for a few flaws is wrong. And if you don't want to buy the game, don't buy it. And if you don't think it's worth it, you still don't want the game. If you want to buy it, buy it. Have fun. I mean, I've done that with plenty of games before, and I've had tons of fun. I wish more people played video games like I do. Just buy what you want to play and play it. I get that there can be money issues. A lot of people do have money issues, and I get that. That's a whole other problem in itself. It's not so much that you can buy it, that you want to buy all the games that you want, it's that you can't. Which is fair. I fortunately have that means, and I know a lot of people do also have that means. A lot of people who say that a game isn't worth it do have the means to buy that game if they wanted to. Anyway, I hope my rant made a little bit of sense there. You either like a game or you don't. Let's leave it at that. But anyway, I have turned on Vince. I have gone nuts. I am just beating on everyone who comes out. These guys come out now, and they're going to try and turn things against me here. But we're not going to be able to find out until the next part, in part 54, where we get on to week 3. Excuse me. And to end things off, this little cutscene, I didn't ever quite get. Vince says that he has someone here who's there to help him and teach him what love is all about. Well, Stephanie McMahon comes out. And what comes of this? I don't know. I don't see her at all in the next couple of weeks. She's just here now. So I will see you in those next couple.